Okay, so I'm on my lunch break. It's just noon. And so famous last words. Let's make this quick. And this is going to be my January checking for my Yarn Mindful Buy project of 2026. A few adjustments I've made on the project since I've been talking with all of you, and also what is in my, up to now, in my Ravelry want to make 2026 new bundle. So hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my very small place on the internet where I talk about my knitting life, my knitting adventures, and also the project I have to kind of examine, contain and control, soft control my yarn and my other knitting related expenses. My name is Isabelle. I am in France, in Normandy, in a typical Normandy weather. It's cold. It's not raining right now, but it's been raining just before, and I'm sure it will be raining just after. The sun is out. It will go away at some point. So a typical, very variable, kind of chilly weather for Normandy. And as I just said, it's going to be a video today about my Yarn Mindful Buy project, the January checking, and I have already placed a lot of patterns in my Want to Make Ravelry Bundle for 2026. So I will talk about these bundles and how I use them in my project, and you will have some kind of good examples of why I have set up that kind of system and way to place patterns in a bundle where I don't forget about them, so that I don't feel compelled to buying them on the spot when I see them. So if that is of any interest to you, please stay tuned. And as we are a knitting channel, first, what am I wearing? I am wearing my Jaunty by Andrea Maury, the first pattern that I'm knitting from her. And I did use yarn from Laurie from Jeu de Teinture. She is local to me and she had a pop-up in my local yarn store. So I got the merino single and the matching Surrey alpaca, that is a very fluffy Surrey alpaca, in a colorway that she's calling Il pleut. That means it's raining again in local, Normandy dialect, if you will. And it's that kind of blue, purplish, beigey, tonal yarn. And I absolutely love it. It's very fluffy because it's half fisherman rib. It's very soft and warm because of the Surrey alpaca. I absolutely love it. I wear it all the time. I see myself making more jaunties in the future. This is a very easy pattern. I did not quite got that much concerned about either gauge of yarn requirement. I did go maybe one or two rows before I finished the first ball of my merino single. And I have some bit left over from the Surrey alpaca. The merino single, I have less than 1 gram. I can't weigh it on my kitchen scale. So I used all of that I could use, and I have some Surrey alpaca left. I used 3.5 millimeter needles. I will check and I will see that, and I will write it on the video if it's not the 3 or 3.5 millimeter needles. And this was my Christmas cast on, and I knit it quite quickly because I spent some time with my mother at the time, and there was not much to do other than knitting. And underneath I have my Agnes jumper by Camilla Vad. And Agnes jumper, I did knit this one quite some time ago, between December 2022 and January 2023, so December 22nd and January 29th. So I knitted in a month, about in a month, with yarn that I bought at a local farm where my mother lives, a mohair farm. And this is the Ferme de France type of mohair that she's carrying. This is a project some mohair producers have in France. They all give their production to a central, to a common project where all of the yarn from all of the people is gathered, and then it's graded from very fine and baby mohair to coarser mohair that's for for example mattresses or stuff like that, or duvets. And this was her bigger yarn, because I used 4 millimeter needles for the color work and 375 I guess for the rest of the body. And in these colorways that I chose, because that pattern has a lot of stories. I chose these colors because it reminded me, and this pattern, because it reminded me of a sweater that I lost when I was a teenager, that I had knit and lost when I was a teenager. So just to be clear, at the time I was not knitting in the round. So I had a raglan sweater that was knitted flat with a pattern that I had to make sure the sleeves and the front and the back would match as far as raglan and as far as pattern. That was quite a difficult project, and it got stolen from me. I mean, it was my own mistake. I left it on the back of a chair when I was in a cafe, and when I went to the bathroom and when I came back it was not there any longer. And I was so very sad for so many years that I had lost this sweater, and from time to time it would come back. When I saw the Agnes pattern, I said, okay, I want to make it. And afterwards I bought the yarn and I made it with the mohair. So that's the first story about this sweater. Another story that is more related to my current video and my current project, it's that I bought on a spot on October 2022 two patterns from Camilla Vad, because she was having a sale for a birthday or maybe the release of the patterns. I have no idea, I don't recall. And of course, Camilla Vad never makes any sale, never releases any new pattern anyway. And I bought this pattern, and I bought the Esther pattern that is the companion. It's the same kind of yoke, the same kind of motif with a lighter gauge. And Esther, I still have not got to knitting it. I got it in October 2022, so this is over 3 years now. And this is one of the reasons why I examined how I was purchasing my online patterns and how I could find a solution so that I don't buy all of these patterns on the spot because I'm afraid I won't remember them. And second, that I could use some kind of a discount. But let's be honest, I'm not sure how much is the Agnes sweater pattern, for example. So it's €8.37. So it's in Danish crowns, but €8, €8.50. Let's say €8.50. If I had 10% on the pattern, that's 83 cents. And if it was 20, it's €1.60. How is that so important to me that I need to save even if it was €2? Can I not spend €2 more to buy the pattern whenever I need it? Because, The Agnes jumper is in my library for over 3 years. Sorry, the Esther jumper. And Esther, I guess it's the same price. Yes, it's €8.37. It's the same price. And you see, I haven't need it yet. So maybe I gained less than €2, but I spent over €8 to have a pattern that is sitting in my library and that I'm not getting to right now. I will knit it one day. Yes, for sure, I will knit it one day. But is that interesting to me, to my project, to my purse, to have patterns that are sitting like that in my library? No. So I looked for a solution to that, and some of you who have already been there are going to be already aware of what I'm doing, and I will summarize all of that for the rest of you who are not really following my Mindful Buy project. Okay, so before we go into my Ravelry bundle for 2026, the want to make patterns and the way I use it to contain and control my pattern purchases, and I have to say it's not difficult for me. So it's not a very strong constraint. It's really natural for me, and I feel very happy with it. So it's really working very well. I will just jump to one yarn expense that I've made. And it's something that I did not buy for myself. I did buy that for someone else. And I'm not going to talk about it right now because maybe that person is watching the videos. I do not know. And I will tell what it is after I've gifted the final piece to her. But I did spend €11.40. That's not much. And this is all I spent during the whole month of January as far as yarn purchases. You're going to tell me it's not a lot. Of course it's not a lot. I have so much already. So it was not difficult for me not to buy any yarn in January because I have started so many projects between November and December of last year when I was feeling better. And I have so little time right now I'm back working full time. So it's very difficult for me to get back to the rhythm and find time for knitting. So it was not difficult to me not to buy any yarn. But anyway, I was needing that yarn because I did not have anything at home that I could use. And so if I'm talking about that, it's because last year, and I will link the videos down below and I will attach the videos in the cards. I did spend a lot of money, in my opinion, on yarn. Not money that I did not have, of course, I could spend that money. But I did spend more money that I was anticipating and that I wanted to spend. So after discussing with you, I wanted to evolve that part of the project. And for now, I won't have much to say about it because at first I was suggested to maybe try a yarn budget. Having a budget for something is not something that really works for me. For example, having a calorie budget for what I eat is not working at all. Even if I write down, it goes everywhere. So at first I was not really convinced, but the more I thought about it, the more I felt comfortable with the idea. And when I first talked about it after one of you had suggested me in a previous video to be trying that, some of you said maybe it's going to be too difficult because I had said I would not roll over my budget from month to month. That means if I haven't spent it, it would just be that way for that month and I would start over with a new budget for the next month. And some of you had very interesting comments to make. First, I could be very frustrated not to be spending money and have kind of lost that money the next month and maybe rush to buy something anyway, not to lose that money the next month. Not sure this is something that I would probably do, but I can't exclude the fact that I would be thinking that way. So I said, okay, let's roll it over. Then the question was, how do I roll it over? Do I subtract what I've used and roll the remainder on the next month, or just half of it, or half of the budget? Or some of you suggested that one of their friends were, or people they knew, was having a yarn budget, and when she had need that much yarn, she could buy that much yarn. Right now, I think that last solution would work for me if I was knitting all that I wanted to be knitting, and for all the time I wanted to be spending knitting. And right now it's not the case. So I'm knitting much less than I would want to. That would mean that if I do that, I would have a very little knitted, whatever, grams or meter or something, and a very little budget for the next month. I haven't tried it, but that's what I was thinking. And if I link what I can buy to what I knit already, I don't know. I was not that much comfortable with the idea, so I just dropped that out. And what I do not know if now I will roll over what I haven't spent months to months. And the other reason is also that I limited my budget to 100 euros. Maybe it's too much, maybe it's too little, but it's under, or it's just within the limit of a sweater quantity in France, I mean here. And some of you said, if I want to buy a sweater quantity and that 100 euros is not enough and I do not roll over part of my budget from month to month, I may also be very frustrated because I could not buy the sweater quantity that month, and I could never buy it because it's over 100 euros. So you suggested, the fact that you suggested to roll over the budget from month to month is what decided me to do that. Even though at first I was thinking I don't need any more sweaters quantities, but you'll see that I may need some more sweaters quantities in my life. Anyway, and that 100 euros would not do it. So I decided to roll over the budget, and the amount to roll over, I have no idea. So for now, I am rolling over the complete remainder of the budget from month to month. So in my spreadsheet, so far I spent 11 euros and 40 cents in January. And so that's 88 euros and 60 cents that I will roll over to the rest of the year. So, maybe I could, for example, roll over up to 200 euros. That is above a sweater quantity. And then if I want it, I can use that. Maybe I could do that. But for now, this is how I am doing it. And you see, I haven't spent much this month, and that's very good. And I am going to be spending a bit more. I have purchases ahead of me, and I will tell you when I'm going to be talking about my next subject, which is books. Yeah, books, or at least one. And from the previous years, from my project, I allow myself to buy 5 books per year. This has worked for the last 2 or 3 years now. So I haven't been in need to, play with that limit. So that's fine. And also to stay within that limit of books I buy, it is usually some kind of present suggestion to my children so that they don't have to bother too much. They have a link and they can buy a book for myself. So 5 books per year is working for me. And also life happens, right? Life happens. Len Publishing, and I've made a post into my YouTube channel. I may show you a picture of where the posts are, because some of you say that you don't see where it is. And if you are subscribed to my channel, you will see the posts in your subscription tab on YouTube. If you are not subscribed, you have to go to the post link onto the channel. But anyway, I made a post about Len Publishing having a pre-order for a new 52 weeks of sweaters that is going to be out in the next few days in February. We are on the 2nd, I have the 6th in mind, but anyway, maybe at the beginning of February 2026. And when I saw the news, I felt compelled, one, to tell you, because I think the book will be very, very popular. And Len Publishing is known to sometimes have some delay to reissue some popular books that they've already published and sold out. So better be safe than sorry, and better pre-order it if you are willing to get the book. And I'm gonna, just jump ahead the next segment, because there are two of the sweaters, or three of them, that are already in my want to make bundle. And one of them, the one that really jumped at me, is Eber Bloomst. I would think it is apple bloom, I think, in English. And this sweater by Clara Eggers, this sweater jumped at me in these very colors: the pale blue background, the bright red poppy type of flowers on a white or cream background for the flowers themselves, and some of them are red, some of them are white or whitish with a red center for the white ones, and a blue and white center for the red ones. The flowers are organized in stripes. It's been a very popular way to stripe and make color work recently, to have a stripe of type of a color work theme or of something, and you have several stripes of them on the sweater. And I'm not much into the botanical type of elements. I'm knitting the white flowers shawl, so this is gonna be very botanical, and this one is, and I just loved the color combination. I love the big naive type of flowers that are the design, and I love the pale blue associated with this poppy red, and I think it's a very orangey red on the sweater. I will probably choose more of a blue red or some cooler red, and the white. It is so appealing to me, and the sample is knit with Iceyer yarn that my local yarn store carries. So I have pre-ordered the book with my local yarn store, and I will get the yarn to make the sweater whenever I am ready to cast it on. But I will get the yarn for that sweater. You see, I am planning already in January to get another sweater quantity. When I was talking about it last year, saying I don't need any more, you were so right. You were so right. So maybe I will, as I just said, roll over 100 euros, 200 euros or something like that to get a sweater quantity, and then the remainder of what I don't spend disappears. I don't have it any longer. But this one I am sure I want to be making, because it really is appealing to me. It's quite original. The little blue is going to be going perfectly with my jaunty, and this is the colors I like, and that pop of red, also close to the pale blue, is something I would not have thought on my own, and that I like very much. So there are other patterns on that book that I really want to make, and I have already, or I will have, because one of you is gonna spoil me with more yarn. But anyway, there are three of them that are in my want to make bundle, and this one I will have for sure, I will spend the money for that book this month, but I will report it and I will show it to you, and it is within my project, so all good. Okay, now that I've been starting to talk about patterns, we will move to my Ravelry bundle, the want to make Ravelry bundles that I have on Ravelry, and in particular the one for 2026. So you see, I organize my favorites in Ravelry with keywords, but also with bundles. And I have several bundles in the Want to Make series since I've established that it's working for me to be placing patterns over there so that I'm waiting to buy them when I am ready to cast them on. And I don't buy them before that, and it fulfills that need that I have not to forget about them. And in my previous setup before 2023, I would buy everything that I wanted and place them in my queue so that I don't forget about them. And this was not working at all because I ended up buying many patterns, and you see the Esther jumper is one of them, and I haven't knitted since then. So I have the Want to Make 2023, 2024, and 2025, and I created at the beginning of January the Want to Make 2026. You see there are already 19 items. Some of them I have rolled over from my previous bundles, and the ones I've rolled over are the ones that are going to be at the bottom most probably. It's Eternal Sunshine sweater. I have the yarn for it. A friend of mine bought that pattern for me. I have the yarn. I think I want to make it with the little glittery element or addition or modifier that I bought, and with yarn from Atelier Pure Laine, so a beige yarn, and use the glitter only, or the sparkles only in the cable. And this is what I want to be doing with that. So I am sure I want to make that pattern. So I rolled it over from last year to this year. Martha is also a pattern that I rolled over. It's from 52 weeks of Easy Knits, and I have some chunky brown yarn that I bought in the Pyrenees long time ago. And I also want to make the slipover with that yarn, and you see it's knit sideways, and then you embroider or add some elements of other colors to make stripes in the other direction. So I like the idea. I rolled over Martha. I have the yarn for it. Next is the Traveler Hood. The Traveler Hood by Andrea Maury. This also was a pattern that a friend bought me for Christmas, and I want to use my Ulysse in the blue color that is a very light sky blue color. I'm not sure. I think it's Ciel, the colorway, mostly because Andrea Maury uses that type of color to make hers, and it influences me and it makes me want to make the same. And the yarn is the proper weight. So I have the pattern, I have the yarn. This is also why I rolled it over from last year. And the last one is Stripe Shopping. Stripe Shopping by Ian Tomstein. This is a pattern. She gave me a voucher for my birthday and I got the pattern. I already have the sweater or the t-shirt and the scarf. The scarf I've knit already, and I like this motif and this type of stripes very much. So I think I have some yarn to use and leftovers and stuff like that to make that kind of bag that I like the shape. And the little stripy motif I like a lot. So that's the last one of them that I rolled over from last year. The next pattern that I added to my bundle is from a designer I was not aware of, and it's Ian Hua Lee. And the first one I saw from someone. I'm not sure whom. I'm sorry. I should keep track of that, but I have not so far. And it's the Keep It Warm Sleepover. It's in DK plus lace, so it's worsted weight. I have yarn for that. Maybe also that could be a candidate sleepover for the red Nutiden I have, and I have more hair to go with it. And I absolutely love that type of element in the middle of the front. I am not sure there is also a motif on the back, and I would say so because there are no pictures. And so the motif on the front, the kind of ribs on the side, I like that very much. The mock neck at the top, everything in there I like. I would guess the sleeve openings are and the shoulders are made as you go, and I absolutely love that type of pattern. Then so I looked about what she's made, and I really like everything that she's made. And so the marlin sweater, kind of resembles, I'm not sure it's exactly the same type of motif. I need to see that more closely, but anyway, a motif that looks a bit like the poet sweater from Sari Nordland, a cable on the sleeves. I like that very, very much. And the other one is Keep It Warm sweater. That is, so okay, that's the same motif as the Keep It Warm sleepover that I just talked about. Sorry, it was not the marlin, but it was the Keep It Warm. So that's the same motif, but the same idea with a cable on the sleeves. I absolutely love that, and this is why these 3 pieces from her, and please have a look at her, and all of her designs are really, really beautiful with playful colors and a lot of texture, a lot of lace, a lot of cable, a bit of color work, playing with colors, and I absolutely love what she's doing. So this made it into my want to make list so that I don't forget about all of these beautiful designs. Okay, next is Just a Scarf by Isabel Kramer. She just released that pattern in January 2026. I love that kind of little, I think it's a smaller yarn. I would say it's fingering, yes. So it's a smaller gauge, and I like that type of idea for a scarf so that you can use also your leftovers. There are plain blocks there and color work. The color work doesn't seem that difficult anyway. There are mittens that go with them, and I absolutely love all of the ideas and all of the colors that she's chosen. And I have to admit, I first saw them for the mittens, but I do enjoy the pattern for the color very much too. So this made it into my bundle. The next one is Bleu by Rachel Sogard on the Filcolana website, and it's a free pattern. What I liked about this t-shirt, and it's lace weight, so it's 2 lace weight held together, 26 stitches. So, I'm sure you can, or I can make it work with some kind of summer fingering weight. I love a lot the little pattern here on the sweater. So there is this pattern all over, and I really like that. You have it on the body, on the sleeves. A raglan sweater that I like. The color also most probably is what caught my eye. So yeah, this one I want to make for this summer maybe. It's going to be a good pattern for the summertime. Then, as I scrolled up for the line above, you see there is the Regis vest by Gudrun Johnston. When she published this vest, also in January 2026, I watched her videos. I watched her videos about the vest, about the knit along that she's having and everything. I like what she does very much. I enjoy her videos anyway, and I liked very much the idea of this vest that you also need sideways, and then you can embroider the vertical lines here on the slipover. You can have a different color for the neck. You can have, a different color for the vertical line. You can make it in the front, in the back. It is symmetrical, so you can wear it with the color in the front or in the back. And it's in decay, so I have a lot of decay yarn that I can use, and I absolutely loved the idea, the construction, the look of the slipover to wear over a dress or skirts or that kind of wear. And I loved it so very, very, very much. I just talked about the 52 weeks of sweater, and in the 52 weeks of sweater is Brick by Maria Jesus Camus. And that sort of looks like the Regis vest by Gudrun Johnson, not at all the same construction, but the kind of same of idea with a different color in the front, here in the collar. It is a slipover that has a front and a back that you tie with ties on the side. And you may recall that I want to make something like that, and I've been willing to be making something like that for a very long time. I have some Isayer tweed yarn that I want to be using, so fingering plus lace, 22 stitches. I'm sure I can make it work with the yarn I have, and I absolutely love this idea. So I may not buy the Regis vest by Gudrun Johnson, and I may need the Brick because I am sure I am going to be buying the book. And if at some point I want to make Regis, I will buy the pattern and just make it. Next is the Ulta Shawl Palma 2.0 by Martha Wissing. And this is a free pattern, yes, as far as I recall, yes, a free pattern on Ravelry. And it's also just been published in January 2026. And what I like about this pattern, can I just not enlarge that? Okay, let's do this. What I liked about this pattern is all of the different sample textures that you can be using. I like it's not boring, it's not a very long and, very long, boring, always the same. I do love my jaunty, but at some point, sometimes it was a bit boring. And I want to use the yarn that I bought when I was at Fête de la Laine in Trizet. And I have this handspun yarn by Patch Hélène here in the blue colorway, and you see it's quite irregular, and I think I can make it work with that pattern. The Ulta shawl, you're gonna tell me a shawl doesn't really matter, and I do agree. I just need to find the needle sizes that make the fabric that I like. And I had already another pattern in mind, but I'm afraid I'm not gonna have enough on its own, and two, that I need to find something to match the color, and the blue is very specific, and I don't want to have the white as a contrasting color. So I was still kind of looking for a pattern for that yarn, and I think that's the one, because I can make the gauge work. It's a long scarf so that you can make, whatever you want. It's gonna be working. It's a shape that I don't have many scarves with that kind of a shape, so it may be the one candidate for this yarn that I already have into my stash. Next is Achroma. My God, that pattern. And Achroma has just also been released, and I saw it, being released, and I absolutely loved it. It's with Decay Yarn by Linnea Ornstein, another designer that I had seen already, but not specifically saved as a designer, not specifically looked at everything. That shawl is absolutely stunning in that monochromatic color. These type of sleeves, once again, I am not much into the botanical, but the short rows, yes, I like that, but it looks a bit like leaves on the shawl. It's absolutely stunning. I already have a white shawl. I wear it all of the time and I really enjoy it. So if you look at Linnea Ornstein, the designer, I'm sure you've seen her already. I am almost certain you've already seen her. And what had already caught my eye and my attention was these patterns she was having with short rows. I need the butterfly shawl, and not from her. I'm not sure I recall the name of the designer. I will write it on the screen. But it's the same idea where you kind of make shapes with short rows and here she designs she has some designs with short rows. It's just stunning. And I think the other one I had already seen much, it's with that type of leaves and stem pattern. You have the circular ones and that type of shawl with color work and short rows. Absolutely stunning. So if you have not been aware of Linnea Ornstein, please look at what she has, because I have one of her patterns in my want to make list. Next, I am not going to be talking much about, because once again I've made a post. Anna Husserman has released patterns with Hobby, 3 patterns, and in the series, the Rust and Rhythm series, she has a bandana, so that's the one that is in my bundle. She has a hood or some kind, and she has a scarf, I think, and with intarsia. So if you have not experimented intarsia already, maybe that's the pattern you could get, because it's free. So she has other Rust and Rhythm patterns in her library that are not free, but she made these 3 ones free with Hobby on the Hobby website. And if you have not already been into intarsia, maybe that's the opportunity to try it on with a free pattern, someone who is well known for intarsia, who writes a pattern beautifully that are going to be easy to follow. And this one might be a bit more complicated, because here you see you have 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. But once again, I'm gonna link my YouTube video about how to knit more complicated charts. You have to get organized, and with intarsia you have to get organized too. So I've placed it here because I have yarn that I can use to make it. I like the little pops of color, the little geometric shapes. I like the colors she's used. I'm not sure I would use the same. Anyway, the idea of a dark and a light version of the same type of color. It's something that other designers are using already, and I think it's a very interesting way to play with colors in colorwork. So, okay, Rust and Rhythm. Next one is Draw Your Lines. Draw Your Lines by Fumiko Segawa, also released in February 2027. I'm not sure the date is correct. I would say 2026. Anyway, maybe I can just email the designer, because you can buy the pattern on Ravelry. So anyway, so it's an Aran weight sweater, 15 stitches. That I do not know. What I do love, and you've seen I already have patterns with that type of design, with line of colors, vertical lines of colors. So you have one on the collar, you have more on the sleeves, you have the little pop at the bottom of the sleeves, at the bottom of the sweater, that make it very interesting. And so you can avoid making the lines if you don't want to. And I really like these 15 stitches. It is kind of the biggest gauge that I'm using for sweaters, but I already have sweaters at that gauge, so I know I like it, and I have yarn that I can use for that. But anyway, I really like this one. And same, if you don't know Fumiko Segawa as a designer. I already had seen the Kala Lily vest that she's made previously. I did not see the call, and this one now. I really like the patterns that she's published. Okay, next, Streamlines. Streamlines by Intermstein. I have knit patterns from her. I have patterns in my library I want to knit from her. And I really did like this sweater very much. As she's in my friends, I could see the sweater in the making, and I was waiting for the release of the sweater that was just in January 2026. I love this kind of sculptural lines you have at the top of the sweater. You have it in the front, you have it in the back, and it's very elegant. So she has a white t-shirt, clear one, and a darker one, dark blue one. I absolutely love that. And you see there is a theme here once again. The lines continue on the sleeves. I love that very much. So this made it into this bundle. DK 22 stitches, very versatile type of gauge and yarn. I'm sure I have something that I can use in my stash, and I love these lines. So there you have it. It's in my bundle. Next is the Atara Yoke. Atara Yoke by Camille Romano. And this is knit. I saw the sweater pattern in the Bichebuche newsletter that I received not long time ago because it was published in 2026. And I really enjoyed and liked the look of the sweater. So it's in DK, 21.5 stitches. And you see you have two colors at the bottom and at the top, and in the middle you have another one. And to separate the colors, you have little bubbles and you have a little ribbed edge on the cuff. So all of that I liked very much. And this is a very good idea to combine several yarns that you have in your stash and that would not be enough on their own to knit a whole sweater. Of course, you can decide that you are going to be making just that sweater, just one color. Yes, you can, and just the little rows of bubbles. Yes, you can. But in a way, if you are looking for sweater patterns, and I am, for sweater patterns that you can use with yarn in your stash, and when there is not enough yarn to make a sweater, combining both of them together is a good idea. So this pattern I liked a lot, and even though I don't have that type of yarn by Bichebuche, I have DK yarn, so yes, this is why this pattern made it into my bundle. And to finish, so I just talked about brick and Eblumst, I'm not sure. The one I want to be talking about, and that is linked to the apple flower, let's say, sweater pattern from the upcoming 52 weeks of sweaters, is Isla Shawl. So Isla or Isla, I'm not sure, by Bichebuche once again. And this one I also saw in the newsletter that I saw the previous pattern in, and it was published in March 2025. I've talked about this pattern with one of you, and one of you said, oh yeah, it was very popular at the time when it came out. I completely did not see it. It escaped me. It did not caught my eye at the time, most probably because I was thinking, oh, I don't need a little scarf that I have already many patterns, most probably. But look at the colors that they have chosen. The same colors as the apple flower sweater, the light blue, the white, and the red. So you have it in other colors. And I have to say that I thought with these colors, I thought I'm gonna get a bit more from the sweater to knit the scarf because I like it very much. So it's also a pet for pattern, but and it's using fingering, and I'm not sure the sweater calls for fingering. No, the sweater calls for worsted, but you know, a little scarf it can be a small shawl and or a big scarf if you use a bigger yarn. So yeah, I'm sure I will get more yarn from the sweater just to be making that scarf. So okay, we've seen everything, and I wanted to show you into my bundle, and I've explained why each pattern is there. So you see, I use my Ravelry bundles and the want to make bundle. And I also have specific other bundles that I label temp something with a reason why I'm placing patterns over there, because I have the yarn that I'm looking for patterns or patterns for somebody or something like that. And once that bundle is used, that I've chosen a pattern and I've knit the pattern, I usually remove it as it is a temporary bundle. But you'll see, if you look at my bundles, you will see that some of them are still there. But anyway, you see how I use my want to make bundles. When I see a pattern that I want to make, rather than buying it on the spot and forgetting about it, and that it drowns into the bottom of my library and the bottom of my Ravelry files and everything, I place it there so that I am still aware of the patterns. I can go back and see what I was interested in at some point. I usually without that list during the year, because at some point I want to make that one pattern, and maybe 3 months from now, 6 months from now, I will have forgotten why I placed it there. I'm not interested into it any longer. I remove it off the bundle. Fine. And in the meantime, I've not bought it and it's not sitting there in my library waiting for what? Waiting for maybe me to want to knit it and I'm not interested in it any longer. So it works perfectly for me. I place the patterns there, and when I am ready to cast on, when I have the yarn or when I'm looking for something, I look into these bundles to see what I had already seen that I liked and that I've saved there. So the Agnes jumper is the perfect example why I am making these bundles, because the companion sweater I have not knitted. And if you recall from the video I made last week or a couple weeks ago, I was wearing my Alary sweater. Alary sweater is the perfect example why this bundle works, because Alary was in my want to make bundle for 2 years. And I finally bought the pattern when it matched with the yarn that I saw and I bought. And I knitted with yarn from Normandy. So you see, it is working for me. I do spend money on digital patterns, but I spend money only on patterns that I am ready to cast on or that other people offer me. You are too kind. But when I am ready to cast them on, and also, so that prevents me from spending some money on these patterns that in the end I have not been knitting yet. Okay, there you have it, my friends. My first checking for 2026 in my Yarn Mindful Buy project that I have been doing for in a form or in another for 4 years now. And it's 1:30 in the afternoon, so I need to get going. I need to eat, and I have something to do at 2 o'clock. So I need to get going, whatever happens and whatever else I was willing to say. I hope my project is helping some of you in any way when we do discuss it in the comments down below. You do help me a lot. I know that the bundles have been catching the interest of some of you, and some of you are using them also, so that you use them in the same way to save patterns that you don't want to forget about, and then maybe you want to get back and buy whenever you are ready to knit the pattern. And I know that this part of my project can be useful for some of you, and I also know that all of you have been so helpful to me designing, shaping, brainstorming, and establishing the way my Mindful by project is going to be this year. So I'll be doing regular check-ins. I usually try to do once a month. If I don't have much to say, I can delay and maybe do one every other month. But I usually try to do a check-in once a month because it's also a good way for me to have a clear overview of what's been happening in the month. And even more, now that I am rolling over some money from month to month, I guess I need to keep an eye on that and reflect on it and think of it and see if this project is going in the direction that I like. So anyway, that's gonna be it for today, my friends. I thank you so much for being here. I wanted to finish with one point that I've not been talking about. It is the Melt the Ice hat by Paul S. Neary. And if I recall correctly, this pattern was designed by one person in a Minnesota knitting group, and it's a reminder of the way people used to resist to the invaders, and at the time it was people from Norway who were resisting the invasion of the Nazis or the Nazi occupation, and they started to wear red hats to show their resistance to the Nazis. In the French protests a couple years ago, there were orange beanies, and now there are yellow beanies, and in the farmers' protests, and that type of resistance to some political events or to a situation or something like that is a way to show your support and to show the fact that you do not agree with what's going on, without necessarily being in the streets and with all of the consequences. And that pattern is paid for. It's €5.28. It's $6. And all of the proceeds go to funds that are specialized to help the ones who are suffering from the situation. And I haven't checked as of today. I think they raised a lot of money from the selling of this hat since it's been published. It's been published in January 2026. Yes, it's just been published. I think the New York Times talked about it and talked about other way of resistance that people have found. And I think it's a good thing. I haven't bought it yet. I think I'm going to buy it just to support their action. And not sure I'm going to knit a red hat right now. I may knit it, I may not. I'm not sure. It was not on my list. It's not on my radar. It's not on my urgent things I want to be casting on after I finished to knit everything I have as a work in progress. But I think I will buy it just to support their action and their choices and things like that. And maybe it is also a way to do things when the situation and the world situation, or maybe even your local situation, is so stressful and horrible and people are dying and stuff like that. I've read somewhere that the way to react to such a situation that is extremely stressful and where you have no power over what's happening is to do things. And maybe, when I say that we hang out to our little needles and we knit together, in a way that's what it is. We do things, even though it's not directly helping the situation or lowering the stress of the situation. It can lower the stress of your own personal mind. And buying such a pattern is a way to do something that helps and that responds to this stressful situation and these stressful events. And the world is unraveling in a way that I was not expecting, and that is making me extremely stressed out. And even more that I can't really knit all and everything I want to be knitting, so it adds stress over stress. And I know that my situation in Normandy, in France, is nothing compared to what some of you are experimenting. And maybe buying this pattern is a way to do something. So, until next time, my friends, I thank you a lot for being here with me. Maybe you can share down below what you are doing to relieve your own stress. And I hope I will see you next time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Top. So hello everyone. Welcome or welcome back to my very small place on the internet where I talk about top knitting. And underneath I have my, I think it's Agnes Jumper by Camilla Vad. So I have a kind of a, and it's something that I bought not for myself. It's something that I did not buy for myself. I did get the yarn for that sweater. So you see, this is related to what I just said before. Sorry, I forgot the focus on my telephone and somebody sent me a text message. So, but